Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney. Welcome to the Family and Consumer Sciences iCEV session. iCEV provides courses for several different FCS programs and offerings. Where I'm at right now is icevonline.com and then select K through 12 content area, Family Consumer Sciences curriculum. This gives you a good introductory snapshot of what courses do we provide in iCEV, as well as the specific lesson topics and some sample videos and lesson plan and activities as well. So again, we can see that in Family and Consumer Science subject area within iCEV, we have everything from culinary arts, fashion marketing, hospitality services, personal finance, instructional practices, child development, several things in between. Let's go ahead and jump into the iCEV platform where we can actually start to look at some of these courses and lessons come to life within the platform itself. When I log in, I will be brought to my course dashboard. And so if you have an iCEV account, this will be a very familiar page to you. If not, you can think about this as where you're starting to build out your courses for the semester, the trimester, or the academic year. Start setting up your courses allows you to start building out that dashboard. So when I select that button, and of course, with my subject area, I have all of them in my account, but you'll have family and consumer sciences or whatever else has been assigned to you that you need for your program. I'll then be able to see those same course titles that we just saw on the web page and start to build out my courses based on what I'm covering in that particular time frame. So for example, maybe I have a second period culinary class. I'll select that course playlist bar, give it a title, add course. Maybe I also cover instructional practices within my course, and I'll add that over as well, selecting that bar. Maybe that's my sixth period teachers class. We can then select finished. If we're done creating our course layout, we can always come back to this page to add other courses. You'll see along this top tab area that there's also a subject area playlist or a certification playlist, which is where we've broken down some specific areas and subject area that you can pull over. And our certification playlist is where we house certifications for business and industry partners that use us as the testing platform. So we do have some certification specific sessions during our CTE Inspire conference. So I'd encourage you to add some of those to your schedule if you haven't already, where you can learn more about the specific certifications that you may be interested in and how you can utilize that within your classroom and your state. Once I'm finished creating my course page here, I'll select finished. And it'll take me back to that dashboard where I can now see my second period culinary and my sixth period teachers course. Here, we can now start to make some customizations with each of our specific courses. So if I go in to view my culinary, I'll see the pre-created lessons that lay out on my particular page, quite a few here in our culinary arts class. And I can start to customize what I actually want to utilize. So using this customize this course, I can do a few pretty powerful things. The first thing I can do is I can preview a lesson. And so if I want to have a quick snapshot of what is kitchen equipment, I can select preview. I can view either the PowerPoint or the video format that's used to teach that segment, a quick description and details around this lesson. I can then remove any lessons that I will not be covering in my particular semester or academic year. So maybe we are not touching on foodborne illnesses within this particular culinary course, and I'm going to remove that out. We can also move lessons around. So for example, if we are going to talk about food industry safety a little bit before we talk about global cuisine, I can actually move that up and put that in the order that I'd like it to be. The fourth, and in my opinion, the most powerful thing we can do with customizing course is we can add lessons over that are not already pre-created in this culinary course skeleton or breakdown. So we can actually search by keyword a particular topic area that we'd like to add over, or what I would suggest is browse by subject. Again, I've got all of these subject areas in my platform, but you will have family and consumer sciences where you can then see specific subject areas that you might be interested in focusing more on than what is already in the course breakdown. So since this is our culinary, maybe we would like to talk a little bit more about the food industry and nutrition and food. I can select that, and now I see additional lessons that I can add over into my course. So for example, let's say that we would like to do a quick touch on restaurant management and lodging management at the end of our course here to introduce those subjects to our students. We can then add those in. Of course, we can also move those around as we'd like. Once we're done customizing our course, select Finished. It'll take us back to our course dashboard where we can view our second period culinary and actually see those two courses we added. And if you remember, we removed the course that was about foodborne illnesses that lived around this area. And we can now see our completed course as we'd like it to lay. We have a lot of other setting options on the right-hand side here. Before we look at that, I'd actually like to go ahead and jump into a lesson so we can start to see that lesson page. Let's look at Introduction to Culinary Techniques and Methods. When I jump into my lesson page, every lesson page looks virtually the same. So once we've learned it once, we've got it down. At the top here, we'll see the title of our lesson. Right next to it, we'll see our lesson plan, which is provided for every lesson in a PDF format that you can download and print as needed. And so as I open that up, I'll see the objectives, the overall goal for my particular lesson here, the Common Core standard alignment that's been made, and then my actual lesson plan and layout. This includes an estimated time frame for a 50-minute class period if we're utilizing all videos and activity project assessments that are included in this lesson. We'll also have some directions included for us for the activities and projects, and a corner called Career Connections. So in addition to providing video or PowerPoint content to teach the objectives, we'll also include career interviews with individuals that we can actually provide to our students to watch, listen to, take notes from these individuals in the industry. So for example, here we've got an owner of a bagel store, culinary manager, 2 executive chefs at 2 different types of locations that will be talking about their career experiences in day-to-day. We find those particular interviews under the select playlist bar here. If I select the drop-down, I'll now see those 4 individuals. I can select them, watch their interview to learn more about them in their day-to-day, and then easily switch back to my video or PowerPoint format. We'll see on the right-hand side when we have a video that we have several video sections here. We have 6. We can think of this as a textbook chapter. So we're going to flow through these chapters or video segments as we're learning about culinary techniques. First, we'll start with knife care, move to sharpening, learn cutting techniques, preparation, storage, and cooking techniques. Our videos will also include assistance from experts who will help teach some of these concepts. So for example, in this particular video, we are working with a chef who will help us to learn these different techniques and be with us throughout the segment. Chef Aaron Land, who is a culinary arts instructor. Below our video, or again, a PowerPoint format may live here in our lesson. We'll see 2 blue bars called instructional materials and interactive materials. Our instructional materials are going to include any of those activities and projects that we would like to provide to students. Again, these are in a PDF format that you can print or that you can share over through an LMS. So I haven't mentioned, but we do integrations with several learning management systems. Again, we have some sessions dedicated to talking about those integrations. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't already, to jump in on some of those during our conference here. But we'll have activities, projects, as well as PDF versions of our assessments and any teacher answer keys that are needed as well. So for example, maybe we're looking at, is it done as an activity, where students will be assigned several different types of food and then have to discuss what happens to the appearance, texture, flavor, and moisture when it's overcooked or undercooked for each of these food items. Below the instructional materials, we'll see interactive materials. So again, this is another way to create these resources as engaging for your students. Your students can have an iCEV account where they access the content that you share to them. You'll see these checkboxes several places that say visible to students. This means it's visible to them in their iCEV account when they log in. And you can actually allow them to complete exercises and assessments virtually online that will then be automatically graded for you into your gradebook within iCEV. So for example, here, I might be labeling these vocabulary. I'm in my teacher account now, but this is exactly what it looks like for my student account as well. We would go through, answer those questions, and then submit it to be graded. As a student, I can see how I performed. If you, the teacher, would like me to see that I got a 0%, you can. You can also turn that function off, but you as the teacher will always be able to see the details for how your student performed on an exercise or an assessment. Speaking of turning that type of function off, you'll see several options to tailor your students' experience with these interactive materials. So for example, we can provide them more than one attempt if needed. So if we want a student to have 2 opportunities to complete this final assessment, we can add that in here. Visible to students, again, means that it's on their account. So if we don't want them to access assessments until a certain point, we can turn those off. Show details is what we just looked at. This means that as the student, I can see how I performed after I complete that item. So if we don't want them to see this, because maybe students are taking assessments at separate times, or we're giving them more than one attempt, we can turn that off. However, if we ever need to make modifications or accommodations for students, we certainly can leave that checked if needed. We also have a couple other items here. As I mentioned, we can integrate with different learning management systems, including Google Classroom, which is listed here, but we can integrate with several others. We can add a deactivation date. So if we know we don't want students to access this particular item after a certain date, we can place that in here. Or if we don't want something to be on our grade report, maybe we're not going to grade this vocabulary, we can turn that function off. Again, this is the lesson page on a teacher view for these items. In a moment, we will look at student view and how they can access and complete these exercises and assessments as well. You will notice here that we do have student grade report. So if we would like to see how our students performed in this particular course, we can open that up and view that. So we will view that after we've had a student enter our course. Back to our course page here, as I mentioned, we have several setting options here on the right-hand side. So if we look down to this setting bar on the bottom, we can do a handful of things. We can, of course, archive or delete a course, or we can change the lesson visibility. So if I select show settings, we can do this on a large scale. So when we were in that lesson, we can hide items in the lesson. But if we want to hide an entire lesson, we can do that by selecting lesson visibility, hide settings. We can hide everything, have everything shown. It all comes pre-checked to be visible. We can also make things visible on certain dates. So if we know we'll be talking about food industry safety on a particular date, we can update and make that as we'd like. Maybe that's August 31st, and we can make that be viewable on that date. And then again, we can hide items from students if we're not ready for them to enter into that particular lesson. We can also hide all assessments or printable activities if we need to as well with this setting function. Here in the middle, I'm obviously working kind of bottom to top here. In the middle, we have a create assessment function. And so each lesson does come with these pre-graded assessments and check for understandings that can be utilized. But if you would like to create an assessment, let's say, for example, as an entire unit, maybe as we look at these principles of HACCP, we'd like to create a final after they complete all these lessons. We can do that with our create assessment function. Give it a title, assign it to the particular lessons that it may be matching to, and then we can pull questions that are coming from those lessons and create our own questions, including short or long response, audio response, PDF upload, a lot of options in this create assessment function to actually customize it to your students and what you'd like and how you'd like them to answer questions. The last item we have here is our student setting function. So we can manage our roster, view our entire course grade report, and invite students to join our course, all from this bar here. Inviting students is very simple, 3 steps. The first thing students must do is actually register for an account. They would put in their first and last name, a username and password password forget questions, and then a registration code, which is listed in step 2 here, which identifies your unique class. So a student who enters this registration code would be added to my second period culinary class with all the customizations that I've made. Once they register, they will be logged into iCEV and be able to log in and access any course that's assigned to them as they would like. Now I have a student that's already been created, so we're going to go and check out their page. And we're actually going to add them to my teacher's course, just so that we can switch up our subject area here a little bit. Again, the same layout that we have here, I can customize this course as well. Let's go ahead and invite my demo student to join my 6th period teacher's course. So here's my demo student. If they've already registered for an account but have not registered for a course, this is how they would access a new course. They would put that registration code in, submit. And now as a student, I can go in and view the lessons that have been made visible to me, which here does include all of our lessons and items because I hadn't changed those visibility settings. Let's go into learning styles. I can view the video that has been included for me as I'm learning about learning styles. I can look at the career interviews, access the instructional and interactive materials. So for example, if I'm going to be completing this vocabulary, let's just jump into that. We'll do some quick, I'm not even looking, guessing. I'm not going to be performing very well on this one. Submit. And again, as a student, I can see I did get 25% on this particular item. I can return to my lesson page and I can view that summary if that show details has been left checked for me. If I have more than one attempt that my teacher has provided me, it will tell me here. And for my teacher, I can actually now go back and I can view my learning styles student's grade report. And I can see that student 1 demo has completed learning styles vocabulary at 25%. I can view how they performed on that, just like they did. And I can also make some modifications to the way I view my grade report if I would like. So we can view it by items or percentage. I can view all students or just one student. Of course, I only have one student in. And if we have more than one attempt, we can also view it by the score we would like to see. Maybe that's our highest score for our students. Great. That's the high overview of access to iCEV for family and consumer sciences teachers. As I mentioned, we do several learning management system integrations, so join those sessions. We also do industry certifications, so join those sessions so you can learn a little bit more of best practices and usage for those particular items. Of course, with your course dashboard in Family and Consumer Sciences, you do receive access to all of the resources and courses that we viewed on this particular page so that you can customize as your courses change based on your standards and your students as well. Thanks for taking time today to join our session, and we hope to see you at more sessions during CTE Inspired. Thank you.